Yes, nice. We're gonna go. That's what I'm saying. So what we've discovered so far, sis, well, what I've discovered so far doing this is that there's never enough so-called time to go over the things that we can go into and cover. And there's a lot. There's just a lot. There's a lot when I think about it. And I really want to just. I don't even want to go too fast. I don't even get too close to the present just yet. I want to stay in a certain space just for a minute. But before we do, something that I've often said, and it's been asked of me, so I'm going to throw it in there now. Because I always say I used to say to the girls and stuff, my daughters, I'll be like, if there's anybody that I think's read the most books on planet Earth, it's going to be Rosanna. I don't think there's anybody on planet Earth that's read more books than Rose. I can't imagine it. I remember every time I would come in a bookshop, you had different books. You might have 4 books at a time that you was reading, you know, different page marks, post-it notes inside there, and type of good stuff. So, would you have any idea of how many books you have read? And then if you was to give us, I don't know, maybe like your top 5 inspirational books that you would, you know, that you could share with us from any, whether it's childhood books or, you know, life-changing books, but just 5 books that you would suggest people check out or read that you've read.
I haven't got a clue, honey. Childhood book that blew my mind was The Water Babies by Charles Kingsley. It literally transported me back, like in the sea, because it's all like in the sea world. And now that I am a lot more mature, it just reminds me of the sciences, you know, like the mermaids and the nymphs and everything to do with water. You know, even say like the transatlantic, the whole transatlantic thing as well. That's what it reminds me of. That one, and The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Okay.
Don't get me started on my childhood books. Oh, and I read the library book, fairy tale book, the Russian fairy tale book, the African fairy tale book, English fairy tale. I read all of that. Wax out this library in the children's section, and then I moved up to the adult section. So, yeah. I think mythology has always been there. Magic, mythology, and so on. I haven't got a clue how many books I've read. And back in the day, I used to proper read them, you know, like page to page to page to page. Whereas now, you skim now, unless it's something really that you're looking for. I've got about 1 million favorite books. One book that I really did like, which really set me on the path, was Gerald Massey, The Book of the Beginnings.
Okay.
And what happened was, I was in, it wasn't college. They don't call it college. I can't even remember what they call it, but it wasn't college. But I was doing some course. And there was a brother, a Rasta brother. And he was and he always reading. And I had got to a point where I didn't know where to go, because I had read so much, and the history stuff. I had read so much stuff. And then I said, one day I went up to him, I said, look, I'm stuck. I've read everything on the history, but I don't know where to go next. And he was reading Natural Genesis, I think he was reading at the time.
Okay.
And he said, look, I've got these books, but they're not easy to read. And they're expensive, because again, that was the 90s. Back in the day, one, there wasn't easy to get. I think there was maybe only Head Start that had copies of it at the time. And every time Head Start bookshop on West Green Road, and they had it in a binded format. And every time I used to go, before I asked the brother anything, I used to kind of look at these books, because they were done in a binded form. They were different from the other books, and so I always used to be looking at it. And then the brother said, this is what I would recommend that you read. It will put everything in context that you've ever read. And I was like, well, I can't afford it. And the brother lent me those books. He lent me the part 1 and part 2
Wow.
of Book of the Beginnings. And he just said, take your time. But all I need to ask you is, when you finish, please, I need you to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah. So he gave me those books. And to begin with, it took a while. It took quite a while to get into it, because there was some of the language that you've got to get past, because you're just used to reading pleasant to the eye, aren't you? Is it from right to left, and that's how it is. And I used to carry those books every day, everywhere I went, in a carrier bag, so nothing would happen to those books. And I just kept at it and read them, and just blew my mind and opened it up. And then when it came to reading Natural Genesis and the other one, it made it easier, because those books are not easy. And then it leads you to Britain's Ancient and Modern, and then it leads you to all the other stuff. But as well, like reading Book of the Beginnings is like reading all the mythology that we read. So it all fitted into place. So that's like one of my favorites. Malidoma Some, Of Water and Spirit, is another. Dr. Ben, Heaven is
Before you
Between the
move
Legs.
forward, why that one? What's that one about? Some people may not be familiar with Maladome or the book.
Oh, Of Water and Spirit. Again, the brother's life. He came from, is it Burkina Faso?
Faso, yeah.
Um,
The Dagara.
yeah. And just his life journey, just his life journey, born into that culture, taken away and sent to missionary school. He didn't get initiated, or he got initiated when he was in his 20s, I think. And just the explanation of the rituals that took place in there was absolutely mind-blowing, because again, it's things that that's just in your system, and that you can identify with, even if you don't know anything about it. But it was just his journey and his name. That was what was quite striking about what his name means for his purpose in life. And even now, as you can see, it don't matter how long it take, you can have the most, quote unquote, the most perfect life, but at some stage in your life, consciousness comes back, or something comes to make you do what you've got to do, what you're here for. And so that's what I like that book. I absolutely love that book, actually. And the first time that he came to London, we went to listen to him, and Of Water and Spirit was sealed, because he spoke about a lot more than that was in the book, So
Okay.
yes, Of Water and Spirit. Dr. Ben, Heaven is Between the Legs of a Black Woman. Again, by then I've been doing research by then on women, pregnancy and childbirth, spirituality, metaphysics, pregnancy and childbirth, and again looking at that whole concept that of that the ancestors left us, because all he said was, you just have to go to the tombs, you just have to look at the medunetta, the hieroglyphics, and it's all there. And after reading that, I was like, what? These things are quite simple. All the information is there, but it's about accessing, and when the time comes for you to know what you've got to know, so that you can take the steps to do something about it. And I used to read a lot of novels. There's a lot of novels. Actually, one of the novels that I like is Baby of the Family. by a sister, because I can't remember at the moment. But there's one called Baby of the Family, and what it is, this sister, she has a baby, and she's told, and the baby's born with the veil, with the caul, the sack around her, and the midwife says to her, this baby is special, but there's some things that you have to do, because this baby can see, but this is one powerful baby. And so she took the umbilical cord, the baby's umbilical cord, after it dried, and she made her a potion. And she said to her, you have to do, because I don't want to spoil the story, you have to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and you have to drink this. She gives it to her. She gives it to the mum. The mum doesn't drink it. Later on, the young girl, she starts to see things, and she starts to have communication in the spirit world. And I'm not telling you all anymore, but aspects of it, of, say, like when I read The Water Babies, and there's a scene in that book that is kind of reminiscent to it, but it's those same themes that come back over and over again. And then Ben Okri, Famish Road, Starbook, I could give you a list of his stuff. I just love the way that he writes. It's like poetry and prose and literally like magic, and you literally can feel that you're in there. You know, it's you use your imagination when you read his stuff. And there's just so much people, but I haven't said a sister. Yeah, I did say one sister, and we got to find sisters. Who else would I find in the metaphysical world? In terms of books, Queen Afua's book was good. Sacred Woman. Sacred Woman, yeah, that one was good because she packed a load of information into that book. But The Wounded Womb, Phil Valentine, because Phil, before The Wounded Womb came out, he was talking about all that. But I love that The Wounded Womb because of the language that he uses. You know, Phil and language, and he makes you open up your mind. And as he says, you know, the information will, even if you're not listening, even if you can't read it, even if whatever, but the information will stay with you, and it will go into your unconscious, subconscious, and then there'll be a time where, poof.
Yeah.
You get it, you know, that kind of thing. But I just got millions of books that I like. A lot of them that I don't like neither. But yeah, at the top of my head, those are what I can think of.
Okay.
Oh, can I just say one thing? Sorry, and how could I forget? In terms of favorite books, anything at all to do with mythology, folklore, fairy tales, anything like that, I am smitten. I am in book love. Anything to do with mythology, because I find in mythology, folklore, etc., you can find a lot of your history, a lot of our story, a lot of magic, occult, voodoo, you know, all the sciences. It's all there, and it just makes things simple. It breaks it down easier. You know, like even if you're watching all the films, you'll be like, no, I read that in that fairy tale. You know, as we know, you know all that, what I'm saying. But yeah, anything mythology and folklore, the business.